Today is the 4th of February, 2019. I'm Keith War, and welcome to another episode of Homeless in Titusville. And today I'm being joined by, what is your name, sir?
Attorney Christopher Cochran.
And Christopher Cochran is representing Tanya Casper. You guys all know Tanya. She did an interview on my show back in August or so. So what was happening today at her date? Like, what was this, a hearing? Or?
Yeah, so today she was scheduled for a VOP arraignment, and what that is they come in and explain the charges that she has. The state makes an offer that potentially could resolve the case, or we set it for a hearing. I spoke to the state attorney on her case today. We weren't able to come up to a deal that we both agreed on, so we continued it to next week. So hopefully next week we have a resolution to her case and it's done.
What do you think will happen? What do you think the outcome? What do you think an appropriate outcome would be?
Well, an appropriate outcome would probably be some kind of treatment, but that's really hard to get here in Brevard County. So more than likely she's going to spend some time in county jail, which is better than the prison that she could face.
So you're saying if she was one of the privileged few that had health insurance and she was able to go to rehab, that she could avoid going to jail simply by having health insurance, right? I mean, basically it's kind of what it comes down to, because then she could go to rehab.
Well, I mean, there are programs that the court imposes.
Right.
But, you know,
But you also have to have drug charges, so if you have things that are related to drugs,
yes,
you can't get it.
Yeah, you know, if you have your theft charges and those kind of things that are related to a drug, an addict's lifestyle,
right,
you're not going to qualify always for those. Sometimes you can get those conditions, but even when you do, the conditions are so extreme, it's really hard to live by them. I mean, you have these drug programs where they want you to show up all day during the day, but you're also required to work. And you're more than likely you don't have a license if you're in this condition, so or you don't have a vehicle. So if you miss one of those meetings or one of those classes or hearings, you're out of the program and you're violated again. And it's just a cycle that just keeps repeating. I mean, and a lot of times these people don't even get a chance to participate in the program in any meaningful way.
So the select few that do get into it and do make it through, it's because they usually have some kind of means or a very good support system.
Yes. It's if you're doing the court-appointed stuff, you either have means or you have support system. You have family or friends who are willing to take the time to get you there, to pick you up, to watch kids if you have them, to take time off for work, or if you're privileged enough to have the resources to go to a private rehab, you're more likely to successfully complete your probation and terminate early because you were able to do your rehab in a quick and more efficient manner, and actually at a facility that's meant to actually rehab you and not just something that's meant to house you and check a box.
Yeah. And I was in the courtroom for another disturbing case. It was a girl that you were representing, 8.5 months pregnant, that wasn't getting appropriate health care at the jail. What was up with that?
So that client, she's been in jail since December 3rd, and she's 8.5 months pregnant, like you said. She has a very serious medical condition that if she goes into labor naturally, her or the baby could die. And she's not seen an OB. She's been there for a month now, and she hasn't seen an OB.
2 months. She's been there 2 months. Since
2 months, yes.
December
It's February.
30th, yeah.
Yes, it's February. So she's been there for 2 months. She has not seen an OB. They haven't scheduled her for a C-section, which she has to have. She hasn't been taken to outside care. Her hands and feet are severely swollen. She's having a lot of issues, and luckily we were able to convince the judge today to give her a bond and let her bond out. But still, even under those conditions, $2,500 bond, which means that a bondsman's going to be at least $250.
Right.
Plus an ankle monitor, which she has to pay for, which starts out at least $300, $400 to set up.
Wow.
So her family's looking at anywhere from $500 to $750 just to get her out. and take her to the doctor.
And if they can't get her out, are you confident she'll receive the proper medical treatment she needs?
No, I'm not.
You're not.
I've seen.
What can we do about that? What can me, you, the people watching this, what can we do about it?
So as a public, I think we need to be more aware of the conditions at the jail, especially when it comes to women. And we need to be more vocal. And, people assume, you're in jail, it's not supposed to be nice, and you're absolutely right. However, you should still have access.
We don't have cruel and unusual punishment in this country.
No, you should have access to adequate medical care. You should have access to, to your attorneys. When it comes to visiting women at the jail, there's one booth for attorneys. But on the men's side, every pod has at least 2 booths to visit. Some have more than that to visit your attorneys. So when I go to the jail, if there's another attorney visiting, or a caseworker from DCF, or a law enforcement agent, or anyone visiting a woman, I have to wait for hours sometimes to be able to go see my clients.
It sounds to me like that would interfere in their due process. Because if these public defenders, they only have so much, I often heard them to refer to as public pretenders, because they say they don't have enough time and so on and so forth, and resources. And even for a guy like you who's not a public defender, that puts a real chokehold on your case, not being able to have access to your client, wouldn't you say?
I do. I would clarify, I don't agree with the public pretender. Here in Brevard County, we have a lot of really good public defenders.
Okay.
Who work really hard. Are they overworked? Yes. That's not their fault. That's another flaw in our system and problem with the courts. But the public defenders that I know and that I deal with, they all work very hard on their cases and diligently. And sometimes they just get a bad rap because they don't
really, it's a matter of resources.
It's a matter of resources, exactly. Yeah. They're limited on what they can do and how they can do things just based on the amount of time. I was actually reading a report this weekend. There's a study across the country going on right now about how overworked public defenders are. But they can't turn down cases. A public defender can't say, no, I don't want this case. I have too many. They have to take it. So whatever their workload is, they don't have a choice. That's
so the client suffers.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah, under
because
the current
of the
system.
funding and the amount of people that they hire to do this job and so on and so forth.
Yes.
When it's been proven that 90% of the public cannot afford a $1,000 emergency in their household.
Yep.
Most people don't have $1,000. They'd have to liquidate something. So that should tell the courts that they need more. They need more public defenders.
Well, and honestly, in this county, most people qualify for public defender. Most people that go in front of the judge at initial appearance will have a public defender appointed.
And let's face it, people like the Trumps aren't knocking over your local convenience because they have enough food on their table, they can make rent, they can put diapers on their kids, so they're not creating these crimes.
No. A lot of these crimes are a direct result of the social and economic situations within the county and within the country as a whole. And until we address those systematic issues, we're going to continue to have this cycle of people going through the system repeatedly. And it's not an issue of they're bad people. They're stuck with bad choices.
Right.
So
to survive.
Yeah. And some of them make dumb decisions. Yes. Yeah. I'm not saying that all my clients, are making bad decisions because of their situation, but a lot of them, a good number of them, are making decisions that they have to make. It's not not most people, but a lot of people who aren't familiar with the criminal justice system, they've never had to make the choice of, do I pay rent or do I eat dinner? And these people are having to make those choices. And so then it becomes, I can pay rent and
I can steal this aluminum and turn that in.
Yes. Or if I steal this pack of meat, my kids can eat dinner and I can still make rent for the day or for the month. And that's, those are choices that people shouldn't have to make.
Right, absolutely.
And as a society, we should be looking at those issues as a whole it's not just, oh, the criminal justice system is overworked. It's why is the system overworked? And it's because of our policies and our issues and the way we deal with things.
Do you think we should be taking more money and building more prisons, or do you think we should be taking money and building more treatment facilities?
I think money should be going to treatment facilities. Prisons.
Do you have a large client base that their issues are drug dependence and things like that?
Yes,
drug issues?
Yeah. A large portion of my clients, have theft or, they have theft and possession charges that are linked to
their addiction.
Their addictions. That's not linked to them being bad people.
And they don't get drug addiction counseling or help in the jail, do they?
There's very little programs within the jail. I'm not in the jail, so I don't know exactly, but from my clients telling me that the programs are limited and sporadic. And honestly, someone on the outside, someone not sitting in jail, has a better chance of getting a better resolution to their case because they're able to take steps that people in the jail can't. They can go to AA meetings or NA meetings on the outside on their own and show the state, that they want help.
Right.
But people that, that can't afford a bond are sitting in jail, unable to, and take advantage of these things. And so they have no way to show the court, hey, I want help. I need to do something.
Right, because they've taken an action, then the court feels and the prosecutor feels they don't care, but it's really comes down to economics. They can't afford, or they don't have the vehicle, the transportation, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, a great example. In the state of Florida, if you're convicted of a possession charge, whether it be cocaine, marijuana, heroin, you lose your driver's license for a year automatically. But more than likely, you're going to get probation, which requires you to check into probation. You're going to get drug tested, which requires you to randomly appear for a drug test when they call you. Or you call them, actually. They don't even call you. And you're going to be required to obtain or maintain employment. All of these things require a vehicle or a phone. You have to drive to probation. You have to drive to work. You have to have a phone to call in to see if your color's called, so you have to drug test. You have to have a phone to do job interviews. You have to have internet access at most places now to even apply for a job. And people don't have the money. And then they drive to probation or they drive to work and they get pulled over and they just violated because now they're driving without a driver's license and they go right back to jail. And the third time they do that, it becomes a felony.
Wow.
So now you had a simple marijuana possession, which was a misdemeanor, and now you're a felon because you drove 3 times, and the state required you to.
And it just snowballs.
Yeah, and so it's just a system. Probation is a black hole.
Right. It's almost set up for people to fail.
Yes, it's a black hole. It's set up to stay in the system. I have a client that I just got off probation, luckily, who's 25. He had been on probation since he was 13. Every time he was about to get off, he would get violated for something. Sometimes it was his own doing. Sometimes it was just
a technicality
or bad circumstances. But for 13 years of his life, he was on probation.
Wow.
He was being monitored by the state of Florida for 13 years of his life. And had I not get him off probation, he would probably be back in jail right now.
Well, listen, we appreciate you taking a few minutes and letting us know what things are like for you representing these clients and for these clients. And I guess I'll be here next week to find out what the conclusion of Tanya's case is.
All right. We look forward to it.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. And you guys remember, you guys can find me at KEITHWOHR on Facebook. I also do have a Twitter that I'm trying to handle the kinks on. You can find me at Keith War at Tville Homeless. And an Instagram and other stuff. I'll get you guys the info. But until next time, may you be just as blessed as you have blessed others. And we'll see you next time.